So much to cover. So much to cover on this today. Let's get right into it. Los Angeles police order immigration protesters downtown to go home. Lots of things are on fire in LA, which is, basically the normal state of affairs there. Of course, it's a little bit worse than normal. Let me give you some of the highlights. This is from Julio Rosas, who was there. He was on vacation, actually, in LA, and then had to go and watch all of this go down. But here are some of the protests. This particular person taking a dumpster, which is contents are on fire, and wheeling it out into the street for some, God, who knows what reason. There is a little bit of an analogy here. The dumpster fire, usually not the thing you want to use to symbolize your movement, but it is a dumpster fire, that I will say. So much more, though, happened. We also have Border Patrol dealing with all these crazy protests. I'll show you some of that footage here. Driving down. They're quietly driving, trying to do their jobs. There's smashed windshield already in effect. If you listen closely, you can hear, things going on outside. But they're pretty silent inside because they can't believe what's happening to their country. This video goes on to show rocks hitting windshields and everything else. Terrible. U.S. Border Patrol agents also out trying to fight this as much as they can. Here they are. Here's the other part of the video, I believe. Imagine just riding with a gas mask in a car. I can't even do that, let alone what these guys do on a day-to-day basis. You hear flashbangs going off, gunshots, rubber bullets, also rocks hitting vehicles and such all in the background. Tis a freaking mess, boys and girls. And we have people now throwing rocks at federal officials as they come by. I mean, this is insane. This is insane. These people are speeding by at about 40 miles an hour, full as hard as he can, throwing rocks at the windshields, trying to, let's be honest about it, kill them. Because if one goes through the windshield and hits the driver, they're going to die. This is like a rock hitting you in the face. I mean, I can't imagine he's throwing over 50, but still, it's a rock hitting you at 90 miles an hour, if it comes in at least directly straight on. And luckily no one died. But I would say, is that, let me ask you something. Is that what you'd call attempted murder? When you're doing something that could very well kill the person, I think there's at least a case to be made. And my guess is Donald Trump is going to have no problem instructing agents to make that case against that individual if they are able to find him. But of course, these brave individuals, these brave revolutionaries are completely masked all the time, hiding their identities, just like the founding fathers or something. Waymo, we all know the central symbol of American immigration policy is Waymo, the cab company that has no drivers in it. Waymo halts service in downtown Los Angeles after his taxis are, set on fire. What happened was they were down at the protest and people said, hey, they started summoning Waymos down there so that they could light them on fire. And that's what's happened. A whole string of them there just, lit on fire. And I will say this, you may know this, you may not know this, but it is true. Burning Waymo cabs has nothing to do with illegal immigration. Has nothing to do with any of the causes that people out there were trying to support. It's just destruction of property. And of course, the actual thing they're trying to support is the destruction of capitalism. So destroying property is consistent with that goal. It's just not the goal that people say that they are actually supporting. Now, protests intensified in Los Angeles. Why? We are told because Trump deployed hundreds of National Guard troops. Now, that is, at the very least, a controversial of a statement to make. Certainly shouldn't be the headline of a news story because there's no reason to believe that's actually the reason why. ICE agents, of course, did go and arrest people for a crime of being here illegally. I don't know what other crime we're just supposed to ignore like we do illegal immigration. We're just supposed to ignore that one. You're doing something illegal and we're just supposed to kind of sit back and say, oh gosh, well, nothing's happening here, boys and girls. Look the other way. Whatever's happening here, you shouldn't notice. Nothing's going on here. Why? Well, let me think about it. I know, because this is a crime we don't like. This is something we don't want to be illegal, so you should just ignore it. There's no other crime that's like this. We don't protest in favor of committing crimes, typically. At least normal human beings don't, but the left seems to like it quite a bit. I'm kind of angry about that, to be honest with you. And I would also think that when you have a breakdown of society like this, of civilization, at least in this very small area, you could see being a little upset. You'd think you'd want the National Guard in there. Here's the thing. If you can't handle it, then the National Guard can come in and handle it for you, okay? And that is at least a theoretical part of this process, but right now it is just theoretical because the National Guard has been sent in to protect federal buildings in this area where these crimes are going on. So far, and this is, I think, going to shock most people, so far, the National Guard has not even interacted with the protesters. The protesters, I'm putting in air quotes. The rioters. They haven't even interacted with them. All that footage where you see agents, interacting with the police and they're throwing, rocks at the agents, those are not federal agents. Those are not the people that Donald Trump sent in. Those are people from the LAPD. Now, there are some other ICE officials that were there for various things. Some of them got caught up in this early on. But generally speaking, this has been an LAPD versus the people out there rioting, not a federal agent versus the people who are rioting thing. Of course, they're getting all the blame anyway. And that is because the left does the same thing every single time in these moments, which is take the side of the criminals. That's what they do. Every time, they take the side of the criminals. It's never a problem. I mean, look, there's a lot of different examples I could give you of this. I mean, certainly after October 7th, we saw a heavy dose of this. But there is a very clear pattern. When someone has committed a crime, they take the side of the criminal, unless it's, very particular incident. Like if there's someone who was on the right, well, then they're very upset about the crimes. Like they're very upset about the January 6th insurrection, as you know, quote unquote, insurrection. Here, not an insurrection at all. In fact, very, very normal, just people protesting the way they were allowed to do in the Constitution. Remember that. This is just patriotic what they're doing. That's what we're supposed to believe. Now, patriotism has a strange face in this particular incident because a lot of the patriots seem to be waving flags of other countries, which is a weird way to show your patriotism of the United States, but they're doing it like crazy. Mexican flag waving masked protesters becomes the symbol of LA anti-ICE riots. Perfect propaganda for Trump. And look, that is one way to look at this. I'm sure Donald Trump does not want to be dealing with an immigration riot in Los Angeles. I'm sure that's not what he chose to do and does not want to do. That being said, probably helps him quite a bit because the American people don't want to deal with a country like this. They don't want to deal with a country that's constantly falling apart and has all their stuff on fire all the time. Nobody likes that. I don't know why the left thinks people like it. The left seems to think people will move towards them. And occasionally it's true. We saw that in 2020. There was some, movement pandering to the left by the media and such. I don't necessarily think that's going to be something that's going to continue. It was much more widespread in 2020 than this is now, but I would not be surprised over the next few weekends. Usually this happens when they get a bit of a thing going on in the media. These left-wing protest groups, which do this all over the country and are available to activate at any time, will go from place to place and start burning crap to the ground. And it's a question of how you're going to deal with it. How do you think Donald Trump's going to deal with that? With a soft touch? I don't know. I'm kind of doubting it. And I think that Trump likes the idea that more people are thinking about this issue. They like the idea, he likes the idea that his opponents are backing a bunch of people who committed horrible crimes. That some of the people, there's a bunch of people who got arrested in the ICE raid that had committed horrible crimes. People like Garcia coming back from El Salvador now. I think he likes telling that story. He likes talking about some of the darkest parts of illegal immigration because it helps him. It helps his cause. And when the American people see their nation in trouble like this, they tend to rally toward the side saying, wait a minute, we don't want that. And I think Donald Trump knows that, especially when you look at these protests and what do you see? Mexican flags. Yeah, there's an American flag in this particular photo. Not too many of them out there, but there's been Mexican flags all over the place. Here's another with Mexican flag. You've got another Mexican flag and a deport ICE sign going on. Another Mexican flag. This is kind of the whole thing. Viva la Mexico. Okay, look, here's the thing. Mexico's available. They got lots of places to live down there. They don't really guard their border all that much. You can just go. If you want to if you think Mexico is that fantastic, stay there or go there. They don't seem to care all that much about illegal immigration from America, probably because they think you have more money than the people that are coming across the border from their south, which they do care quite a bit about, at least if you plan on staying. That's something that even their president has talked about many, many times, former president, who said, what do you do when people come across your southern border? We send back them. That's what they were doing. We send back them. That's what we should do in this situation. It's a fascinating thing to watch, though, because Mexico, very much available for you to go to at any time. And there's this bizarre thing that goes on with the left and the media where they say things are absolutely terrible for these immigrants here. We treat them terribly. We're scared. They're scared all the time. They live in this constant state of fear that they're going to be ripped out of their apartment, their lives, and thrown back across the border. Yet we're constantly also arguing for them to come here all the time. If it's so bad here, then just stay. Just stay. We're not asking you to come. The president's not asking you to come. If you're coming here illegally, don't do it. If you're coming here legally, fine. We're happy with that. There's, of course, footage all over Los Angeles because of this, including thousands of anti-ICE protesters in a march. We have that footage. There we go. Oh, look at that. Lots of people out there. Well, interesting flag choice. In fact, it was odd. Some of the flags out there were very, very interesting. In fact, one thing you saw quite a bit of were Palestinian flags. If you look at this particular, there's a nice shot of a Palestinian flag. Now, stop me for a second, but what does this have to do with Palestine? What does it have to do with the Palestinian territories? I guess people in Mexico, people having Mexican flags in Los Angeles, there's a large former Mexican crew there, people with Mexican heritage. There are there, first-generation Mexicans are there, some legal, some not, but there's a lot of people there. I could see how you might have a Mexican flag. But like, this was a spontaneous riot, right? Where do these people get Palestinian flags? Like, if I were to ask you right now, hey, by the end of the day, go get a Palestinian flag, how would you do that? I mean, I could go online and order one. It would take a couple of days probably to get there. Maybe I could get one overnight. Can I get one for a spontaneous riot happening right now? I don't think so. There's not a lot of stores that carry them that I know of. Why would they be carrying them in Los Angeles? If it was in Detroit, heavy population, former Palestinian, people sympathetic, maybe you could find a store that's selling you a Palestinian flag. But in Los Angeles? It's an interesting development, to say the least. I mean, it's possible, I'm just going to throw this out there, possible maybe it wasn't spontaneous. It's possible, just throwing this out there, maybe this was a well-organized protest by people with a very specific agenda that does agree with the Palestinians, but basically using Palestinians to get to a much larger goal. Here's another guy with a Mexican and Palestinian flag. He was kind of like one of the symbols of this particular day, and other than the burning Waymo cabs. But when I say these are well-organized protests, maybe, just maybe, people had different agendas, there are some people who can't help let that agenda slip, like this gentleman. He had a Soviet flag, which is interesting. Soviet Union, no longer a country, failed miserably, but people still want it to come back, because if it could only be tried the right way, next time it would succeed. That's the real agenda here, right? We went through a bunch of this on radio. A bunch of the organizations, you saw the signs. These are organizations that are far left organizations. They're organizations that are funded a lot of times by your tax dollars. And then you pay for riots and rallies against your own communities where they burn your cars, your businesses, riot, loot your stuff out of your stores, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not a good setup, I will be honest with you. And it's the type of setup that Americans will recoil from.